The guest experience is so important to Deer Valley. It's our founder's vision. All of this expanded excellence and this terrain expansion is about bringing our past into the future. So the things that have made Deer Valley great in the past, how do we recreate that with this expansion? And we think about it in every step of the way.
And welcome to Last Chair, the Ski Utah podcast. I'm your host, Tom Kelly, and today we're coming to you from high up in the mountain at Deer Valley Resort, kicking off Season 7 of Last Chair. And thanks to our good friends Pixie and the Partygrass Boys for joining us for yet another season on Last Chair. Also a big welcome back to longtime Last Chair sponsor, High West. High West is Utah's first legal distillery since 1870. High West is passionate about crafting delicious and distinctive whiskeys and helping people appreciate whiskey. High West, the spirit of the American West. When you're in Utah, come by and visit the High West Saloon in Park City or the distillery in Wanship. High West is the spirit of the West. Today, we're on the top of Bald Mountain at Deer Valley Resort. And just off the other side is the largest ski area expansion in America in decades, Deer Valley East Village. Last season, we were teased with 3 new lifts, and this season there'll be even more, 7 new lifts going in place at Deer Valley East Village, including the East Valley Express gondola serving Park Peak and the entire expansion that will ultimately nearly triple the size of Deer Valley Resort, opening up an entirely new base area on the east side. And get this, you'll now be able to drive from the Salt Lake City International Airport to Deer Valley East Village without hitting a single stoplight, just 40 minutes from the airport. Today on Last Chair, we're joined by a trio of leaders who have been instrumental in the Deer Valley East Village development. From Deer Valley Resort, we'll talk with Mountain leadership team, including Vice President of Mountain Operations, Steve Graff, and Senior Director of Mountain Operations, Garrett Lang. And to learn a little bit more about the modern ski lift infrastructure here at the East Village, we'll have Doppelmayr Senior Director of Sales, Shawn Marquardt. Now let's head inside to Snowshoe Tommy's cabin, high atop Bald Mountain, for the opening episode of Last Chair, the Ski Utah podcast. It's a beautiful day here on the top of Bald Mountain. We're in Snowshoe Tommy's cabin, and I am so anxious because in about 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to be back here and there's going to be snow all around. Right now, we've still got remnants of fall, beautiful colors, some nice low clouds today. And welcome to Season 7 of the Last Chair podcast from Ski Utah. It's great to be back. And as you can see, we are now doing a video podcast in addition to the longstanding audio podcast for Last Chair. I have some amazing guests today, and we're going to be talking about the new expansion at Deer Valley East Village. Lots to cover here today. My guests include Steve Graff, the Vice President of Mountain Operations for Deer Valley, Garrett Lang, the Senior Director of Mountain Operations for Deer Valley Resort, and Shawn Marquardt, the Senior Director of Sales for Doppelmayr, and he's going to talk about lifts. So, folks, welcome. Thanks for joining me here at the top of Bald Mountain today.
Thank you, Tom.
Are you guys getting fired up? I know you're the ones that have to put all this stuff together for all of us who enjoy it, but I imagine amidst all of the stress of getting ready for the season, you guys at Deer Valley in particular, you're probably chomping at the bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a monumental season. So, there's still a lot to do, but we're super excited and our guests are really going to love it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to talk more about the opening details and some of the metrics of what you've put in at the Deer Valley East Village. But Steve, I want to just go to you first and talk a little bit about what was the vision and how did East Village come to be? We talked a little bit with your boss, Todd Bennett, last year, along with Gary Barnett from Extel. But you've been at Deer Valley for quite a few years. How did this vision materialize for what is now going to be known as East Village?
Well, I've been at Deer Valley. This will be my 32nd season coming up. And there's always been talk about Mayflower and Deer Valley Resort expanding to the east. but it wasn't until XTEL came on board and offered up a lot more terrain that was really game changing, and it started to become a reality. The early talks about going east, there was nothing more beyond Big Dutch. That was about as high up the mountain it went. And with XTEL's purchasing of all the lands and our subsequent leasing of that, it's game changing to have that many acres added on.
Have you, in your years here, kind of made some sojourns back into that backcountry terrain as it was at the time?
Yeah, I've been a skier my whole life, so sojourns are part of that journey, and some of them were official. I spent 20 years or so on the ski patrol, and there occasionally over the years people would leave our boundaries, and one of the duties of ski patrol is to go track them down and find them and get them back. And so I was able to go out in the terrain and being able to see the terrain from existing Deer Valley over the years. It's incredibly exciting to have it be part of the resort now.
Yeah. Did you, in the design of it over the last few years, from your experience and kind of wandering around there a bit, were you able to maybe lend some hints and tips and thoughts as to where we could build some runs?
Yeah, I remember distinctly skiing around with Chris Cushing, and it probably had to be somewhere in the 7 to 10 years ago. And, the talk was happening, but nothing had been finalized yet. And XTEL wasn't even on board at that time. And I believe we looked at all the different drainages, Glencoe and Pocatello and McHenry, and skied around existing Deer Valley, Mayflower, Sultan area, and we're looking at those areas and speaking with him and getting his incredible amount of knowledge in ski area design about what could potentially be in that area.
Shawn, I want to go to you. Doppelmayr is one of the leading lift manufacturers in the world. You have installations all over the world, and I've been on some of your lifts in Austria, places like Solden and Saalbach and others. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty in a little bit, but give us a little introduction to your company, Doppelmayr, and we'll talk a little bit more in a bit about all of the lifts that you're putting in.
Okay, well, thanks. So Doppelmayr is a global company. We're headquartered in Western Austria, but our U.S. headquarter is right here in Salt Lake, and we've been here about 40 years. What makes our headquarter here unique is that we also do production. So we produce our equipment at just a few places around the world. One is Salt Lake City, one is Quebec, Canada, and then of course in Austria. So for us, it's extremely exciting to have this in our backyard, and such just an enormous volume of work all in one place in a short amount of time is really exciting.
I imagine it's been nice for you because you're doing installations all over the U.S., Canada as well, that you can just kind of drive from home and be here at Deer Valley and be up and working and helping, look over the lift installation.
That's right. No stoplights from my house, right up the freeway and onto Highway 40. I just love it. New parking area is great, and the new lift infrastructure is really exciting. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the expansion. Garrett, I'm going to go to you next. And you teased us out last year with a number of runs and 3 lifts, but give us a little bit of the rundown of this expansion at Deer Valley.
Yeah, so for this year, Deer Valley traditionally has been 2,026 acres. We're going to jump up to over 4,300 acres, so we instantly double. We opened as a teaser last year 3 of the new lifts in the expansion, but we're going to open 7 additional lifts this year, including the 2-stage gondola. So it's a massive amount of terrain. It's a massive amount of uphill capacity. The runs are amazing. The views are amazing. It's an extremely well put together product.
A couple of years ago, we had a press conference here at Deer Valley Resort and talked about this, and really for the first time told the public, the skiers, about what was going to be here. And what really struck me was the amount of the expansion. You went, and you're going to have to give me the numbers, but a couple thousand acres now, adding really almost tripling the terrain when this is fully built out.
Yeah, 2,000 acres to 4,300. There's still a few acres out there in the bank for the future if we'd like to. 103 runs at traditional Deer Valley, We're going to over 200 runs now. One of the coolest things I've ever been a part of is naming those runs. Pretty much all of them are named after mining claims. It's just been an incredible experience, and we're so excited to share that with our guests.
Let's talk a little bit about that naming experience. And of course, there's a great heritage of mining here in Park City. That's where our community got its roots back in the 19th century. So did you get to dig in and do a little bit of research and learn a little history of the mining culture we have here in town?
Yeah, I mean, the mining culture is huge in Park City. We all know that. And we have a local historian on our staff that actually put together a list of over 500 mining claims. And then a small group of us sat in a room with the map and kind of purposefully decided what to name what. So there's some like backstory behind some of those runs, which is kind of fun. For instance, there's one run that we really think should have snowmaking, but it's not going to have it as of now. It's called Overlooked. So look for Overlooked.
I love this. Any other Easter eggs hidden out there that we might want to know about? Steve, you got some thoughts on that? You're well experienced with the terrain back there.
Yeah, there's a few Easter eggs out there with the naming. Spending time in the terrain before we got to the naming was incredibly helpful. The run Pay Rock, for example, there's a huge rock outcropping at the bottom. So when you're scrolling through all of these different mine claims and Pay Rock showed up, it was like, I know exactly where that needs to go. And all the runs off of Keatley are named after water and lake. So Lady of the Lake, Lakeshore, Shore Thing, because the lake is the prominent view, and Keatley itself is named after the town that's right across the highway underneath the lake that was flooded when Jordanelle Reservoir was created.
Steve, when did you first come to the area?
I first came to Deer Valley or
to the community. Like, were you here before the Jordanelle Reservoir existed?
No, I started working at Deer Valley as the Jordanelle Reservoir was being filled.
Okay, so then I hold the distinction of actually having been here, and I actually been through the town of Keatley. For those of you that know US 40 that connects Park City down to Heber City, it's right up on this kind of high line right at the base of the mountain going by the East Village. It used to be down where the reservoir was, and there was a little town of Keatley, and all the ore came out of the mines. So it's awesome that you're upholding that tradition.
Yes. We're so excited to do it. And the naming for me as well was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my career.
Can you guys highlight, and maybe start with you, Garrett, highlight some of the key lifts that we're going to need to get to know this winter over on the East Village?
Well, the East Village gondola is going to be the premier out-of-base lift for sure. That's a Doppelmayr D-line, 10-passenger, 3,000 pph, I think 1,400 feet per minute. So that's a massive lift. That'll get you instantly from a little bit over 5,000 feet all the way to 9,000 feet. So you're instantly going to high alpine terrain. And then I think the other one I would call out is Revelator Express. That is a Doppelmayr Unigi that gets you directly to the top of Park Peak. The views up there are amazing. That's the beginning of the run called Redemption, which is a ridgeline run. It's going to be like Stein's Way on steroids is kind of what we like to say. So those are two lifts that really stand out. I guess another one I would mention is Pinion Express. That's another D-line 6-passenger bubble, similar to the Keatley Express that we opened last year. That's going to be great for beginners and kids because they're going to be able to just circulate in high mountain, high alpine terrain on greens and blues, beautiful views. It's going to be an amazing experience.
To give skiers who may be veterans here at Deer Valley, and they totally understand the infrastructure with Bald Mountain and Flagstaff and Empire and so forth, talk about the connecting point from the existing mountain over to East Village without having to go around to the other base.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interconnected. So the bottom of Pinion Express, which I just mentioned, is off of Ontario, which is kind of an arterial run here at Deer Valley. So you can instantly get from Flagstaff, Empire, Lady Morgan into the expansion. From Silver Lake, you ski all the way down McHenry or the Salton Connect, and you're in the expansion.
We're sitting here right now at Snowshoe Tommy's, which is at the top of Bald Mountain. Out our window, there's the top terminal of Sterling and also of Wasatch and Sultan. So from right here, if I get myself to the top of Bald Mountain, it's just a little run down to get into the new terrain, right?
Yep. You start on Homeward Bound, go down Northern Light, you're in the expansion.
Wow. That's the one thing that struck me last year is just how easy it was and how well integrated it was to the existing terrain.
Yeah, I think that's one of the special things about this. It's not as if it's two separate resorts. It is so interconnected. It's seamless. So it's just one big Deer Valley. It's the same aesthetic. It's the same level of guest experience. It's just Deer Valley.
Shawn, I want to go to you, and Garrett threw out some terms like D-line and a few others. Doppelmayr's really showcasing some of its really advanced technology here at Deer Valley, right?
That's right. Yeah, so of all the projects here at the expansion, it's made up of a few different elements out of our product catalog, starting from the most basic, a four-seater fixed grip chairlift, and then there are 6 new high-speed four-seater chairlifts, and then when we get into the really new and state-of-the-art things, we have the 2 6-seaters that Garrett mentioned, and the 2-section gondola, which is a 10-seater cabin.
Talk to me a little bit more about what D-line is. I know that the East Village Express is a D-line lift. What exactly is that, and what are skiers going to notice in their ride up that lift?
Well, so D-line in the mid-20 teens at Doppelmayr, we undertook basically from scratch, blank slate, everything we learned about high-speed lifts over the last 2 and 3 decades, and started over and said, now we know we've built hundreds of these things. What would we change? What would we do different? And so it's really everything about the lift. If you really get into it and you're a lift nerd like I am, the terminals are different, the chairs are different, the towers, everything about it, the grip. And what the key points behind it are guest comfort. So things like wider seats, something simple like that, all the way through to the suspension on the towers and on the carriers. So the guests will notice really smooth ride, faster ride, and really quiet. The stations and passing over towers, it's a really quiet and enjoyable experience.
Skis outside or inside?
On the cabin, the skis will be outside.
They will be. I rode a lift similar to this over in Zurs a couple of years ago in Austria, and what really struck me was just the comfort, the smoothness that you mentioned. How do you accomplish that?
Well, it's a lot of there's a lot of dampening, extra rubber and sandwich steel elements all throughout the system, and we can get into all sorts of details, but really the whole interface of how the rope glides over the towers and how the grips glide over the towers and how they interact in the stations as well.
Let's talk about the process of building this. We're going to have Chris Cushing from the SE Group on the podcast coming up in the middle of November, and I know that he's going to talk about this. He was the one whose company helped to put this together. His father actually helped design the original Deer Valley. But what is the overall process, and what role does Doppelmayr play in that, and kind of putting all the pieces together?
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris's company at the SE Group, we work with them on a vast majority of all the projects all around the U.S. So what happens is a company like Chris's, they'll first do the initial feasibility and study of where they want the skier flow to be and where the guests ought to flow through. And once they've done that, we get a terrain file from them, a profile of the actual ground terrain, and our engineers look at that, and we lay out the rope line, figure out where towers make the most sense for efficient, smooth ride, as well as, optimal loading over the towers. So once we have that, we know what equipment needs to go into the project. We can start to form out the bill of materials and all the parts and pieces that need to go into each project.
In this process, Steve, I'll go to you first. Did you have the opportunity to kind of go and look at other lifts around the country and around the world and help make those decisions on what's going to work best here at Deer Valley?
Yeah, I've been a lifelong skier, and I've had the opportunity to go with Doppelmayr and see their facility in Austria and see a number of their installations in Austria and Switzerland. So when we're talking about the different types of lifts that are available and what would be appropriate for the terrain. Having that background and that knowledge of actually experiencing those lifts was incredibly helpful.
We're going to take a quick show break, and when we come back, we're going to talk helicopters, and we've all been buzzing here in Park City watching these lifts go in all summer. We'll be right back on Last Chair. At Ski Utah, we do networking slopeside. Join the powder chasing community of Ski Utah's business membership for an inside track to the state's ski industry. Ski Utah isn't just a nonprofit business association, it's your lift ticket into the heart of Utah's winter community. Membership connects your brand to millions of skiers. It builds authentic relationships with resort partners and gives you access to events, insights, and marketing that speak with purpose and passion. Learn more at skiutah.com/membership. We're back on Last Chair. We're coming to you from Snowshoe Tommy's high atop Bald Mountain here at Deer Valley Resort. Beautiful fall day, and we're counting down the days. It's about 5 weeks till the opener, coming up the last weekend in November if you have a Deer Valley season pass. Otherwise, Monday, December 1st, we'll be back out here. Steve, we've talked a lot about what's going in at East Village this year, what we're going to be able to ski, what we're going to be able to do, but there's also a few more things coming out in the future.
Yeah, so this coming season, we have a new temporary facility that'll be there for 2 years. It's an 8,000 square foot sprung structure, and it'll have retail, skier services desk, rentals, ski storage, and a restaurant.
And then as we look forward, and you've got another lift coming in another year or two, don't you?
Yeah, the expansion's not quite done yet. There's still, like Garrett said, we still have about 1,500 acres to add on. And the next one and the final one that we have planned at this date is Hale Peak Express. It'll come on next year. So we'll be building one more lift next summer. It'll seem like a slow summer compared to what we've been doing.
So us Deer Valley regulars have started to become familiar with Big Dutch and with Park Peak. So now we have to learn Hale Peak, and that's just a bit to the south, right?
Hale Peak is actually east of Big Dutch.
Okay, so we'll be just like last year. We're looking up at these amazing runs coming off this spine. So this year we're going to be looking just a little bit further down the ridge line and be thinking about, I get to do that in another year or so, right?
Exactly. So right now, when you unload the East Village gondola at the mid station, you're gonna have access to all the Big Dutch terrain, which is incredible terrain. There's a lot of low angle intermediates, similar to the terrain on Flagstaff on north side, and from there you get direct views of Hale Peak. So while you're skiing the present this year, you'll be able to see the future as well.
Now, for those who want a nice dining experience at lunch, you're going to be able to still go down to the Grand Hyatt, and that was a popular attraction last year. And again, easy access and easy backup, right?
That's correct. You can eat at the Grand Hyatt this winter, and you'll also be able to eat at the East Village temporary facility as well.
Beautiful. Garrett, let's talk helicopters. I'm just curious, in your past, you guys were flying all summer long here. It was so fun to watch. Did you have any past experience in operations like this and lift installation?
No, this was really my first experience, seeing all these lifts being installed. We've installed a few over the last 10 years here at Deer Valley, but being really directly a part of it, this was the first time. Who
conceived this amazing idea of inviting the community out for a Saturday or Sunday morning to come up to the top of Bald Mountain and watch the choppers fly?
I think that goes to our president, Todd Bennett.
But I got to tell you, as a community member, it was so cool to come up there and just socialize with friends, sit there and enjoy a beautiful day and just see the action out there. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Steve and I were up there in our high-vis vests and hard hats so people could come, ask us questions. It was amazing, the turnout. And, I think it really was a good vibe. It was a lot of energy, and we're getting people excited about it, as they should be.
Shawn, from the lift company's perspective at Doppelmayr, I know you guys do this all the time, all over the world. But what goes into this operation? It's not just a helicopter showing up and picking stuff up. There's a whole process, right?
Yeah, well, it's even at the very earliest stages, our engineers, when we're engineering the towers, each tower element has to be designed so that it meets a weight that's pickable. And so what was really exciting here, and that first public fly day was the Chinook. So when we have to hire a Chinook, that's a big deal for us. Big, heavy payloads, the big dual rotor ship flying around out there. That's pretty exciting. And then on typical fly events where the loads are a little bit lighter, we generally use a Blackhawk.
Let's go back to that Chinook, because that was super impressive. Is a helicopter that big? Is that typically used in hauling lifts up?
Not typical. We've just in the past couple of years where some of the equipment, like on the big D-line 10-seater gondola where the towers are really tall, big, heavy pieces, we've started to use the Chinook just in the last 2 and 3 years.
Garrett, when you're working on the operational side from Deer Valley, what's the communication that you have going with the choppers as they're bringing those towers into place?
So a lot of it is done prior. There are very strict flight paths, and we know where anybody may be working or not working to keep everyone safe. So it's really a detailed procedure. And I guess just one aside on the Chinook, if you happen to be up there, Tom, or if anybody else that's listening they actually deviated from the flight path during that day and did a total maverick move. Swooped in towards Bald Mountain, towards the crowd, and did a sweeping turn. It was a classic maverick move.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but that's the kind of stuff that we love to see, right? And I know you guys were excited too.
Very excited. It was great.
So do you, Shawn, as you, have you had the opportunity to be on site for a lot of these helicopter installations?
Well, they're becoming more popular. So like what Deer Valley did, where they get turned into an actual show event or a community event. That's pretty exciting. So I've been to a handful. The last one here in Park City, I remember, was when we built the lift at the Olympic Park a couple of years ago. And they did a similar thing with coffee and donuts, and it was just a great day.
Yeah, it's a great experience. We're going to take another short show break. And Steve, I think you and we're going to walk outside and show people a little bit about what's going on at East Village. And then we'll come back in here to Snowshoe Tommy's. We'll be right back here on Last Chair, the Ski Utah podcast. It's a beautiful day if you're a skier. Look at these clouds coming in. For those that know the lay of the land, we're right alongside of Steins Way off of Bald Mountain. And we're going to take a look here at Steve Graff. Beautiful landscape. We've got the Jordanelle Reservoir right below us.
Yeah, that's the Jordanelle Reservoir. And then the first peak we're seeing is Hale Peak. We're going to put a lift in there next year. The next one with the mid station of our gondola is Big Dutch. And all that terrain is accessible off of the mid station of the gondola. And then to our right is the top of the gondola and Park Peak.
That's the one shrouded in the clouds right now.
Shrouded in clouds, yes.
A lot of terrain out here. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is the snowmaking. You have amazing snowmaking coverage here.
We have the state-of-the-art snowmaking facility. We have a Hale Peak maintenance facility that is going to house our pump house. We're able to pump 10,000 gallons a minute, and that water and air is directed to over 1,100 HKD stick guns, low energy guns, and 150 fans.
I want to clarify that 1,100 HKD stick guns?
That's correct, yeah.
We saw some of those last year, and I'm kind of curious. You've got the HKD stick guns and you've got the Techno Alpine fan guns. How do you decide where you're going to put those on the hill?
The stick guns are usually on narrower trails, and the fan guns we're using where we need more throw and a little bit more distance.
And for those of our listeners and viewers who maybe were snowmakers 20, 30 years ago, it's a little bit easier these days, isn't it?
Yeah, our system is largely automated, and where we're really going to save is when we fire up and shut down. It literally, you could do it from your phone or computer, turn one gun, then the next, then the next, then the next, all like that, instead of the old way, hiking from one gun to the next to turn them on. So we'll be able to fire up the entire system in a matter of minutes.
We talked earlier about the Deer Valley East Village gondola. It's going to start down at the base, which we can't quite see right now, come to the top of Big Dutch, and then all the way up to Park Peak. Tell us a little bit more about that Doppelmayr lift.
It's a Doppelmayr D-line 10-passenger gondola, one of the most modern gondolas in North America right now. And it comes up to the mid station. It's going to have great skiing.
and then goes all the way. Each segment is going to be about 7.5 minutes. So the total ride will be about 15 minutes.
Just as we wrap it up, before we go back inside Snowshoe Tommy's, any secret stashes you want to tell our viewers about?
I'm incredibly excited about this terrain right in front of us here, Tom. This is going to be all accessed from Revelator Express. A lot of great tree skiing, some steep open bowls. It's going to be truly spectacular.
Steve, thanks for the tour. We're going to go back inside Snowshoe Tommy's on this episode of Last Chair. Welcome back to Last Chair. Welcome back inside Snowshoe Tommy's. Steve, thanks for the little tour out there. Boy, what an interesting day with the clouds coming in and out today. But I want to close it out here and talk about something that I know is very important to Deer Valley. It's important to all resorts, and that is the guest experience. And Garrett and Steve, to you, what does the guest experience mean, and how is what we see with Deer Valley East Village really going to play into the offerings that Deer Valley is known for?
The guest experience is so important to Deer Valley. It's our founder's vision. I think all of this expanded excellence and this terrain expansion part of that is about bringing our past into the future. So the things that have made Deer Valley great in the past, how do we recreate that with this expansion? And we think about it in every step of the way.
Garrett, how about you? What does this mean to you and what you provide to the guests up on the mountain?
I mean, like Steve said, it's really just an extension of our past, and that's very important to us. So, I mean, attention to detail, genuine care. None of us are above stopping to help a guest, picking up a piece of litter. We just want the experience to be so high end for our guests that they can continue to come back year after year, different generations. It's kind of in our DNA.
Shawn, you're the lift manufacturer, and it's easy to look at you as a company that does engineering and operations and puts metal pieces together. But how does it all translate for you at Doppelmayr to what the guests, all of us skiers, experience here at Deer Valley?
Well, absolutely. Our ultimate goal is we want the skiers to know when they're skiing at a resort that, oh, that was a Doppelmayr lift. And it's really the touch point. I think the guests will notice, especially on the new D-line systems on Keatley and Pinion and the gondola with bubble enclosures for weather, heated seats, and the smooth, comfortable ride. I think that will enhance the experience.
You had me at the heated seats. I still don't understand how that works, but it is nice. So I want to thank you guys for joining us here at the top of Deer Valley. We're looking forward to the season, which is just about 5 weeks away here. I want to close it out with our fresh tracks sections and a few questions for each of you just to wrap things up. First of all, kind of think back over the course of this summer, and you guys have all been through an amazing machination of operations and flying lift towers and so forth. Was there a point this summer where you looked at something, and Garrett, I'm looking at you first here. Was there a point where you looked at something and said, wow, that really worked out better than I thought? What do you think, Garrett?
Oh boy. I think I'm just going to go to yesterday and the amount of pipe that was not in the trench when I was out there on Monday. I did a tour yesterday and it was all put to bed. Guns were in place. It's amazing how quickly we're moving and getting this put together.
Shawn, how about you? Something that you looked at this summer and you said, wow, that worked out pretty well.
Well, there are so many things, so it's hard to pick one, but just the sheer volume of truckloads of equipment coming in and then first getting staged in the parking lot and then moving up the mountain. I think we've filled and emptied our staging area at least 4 times, and it just fills up truckload after truckload, then goes down as the stuff gets trucked up the mountain and put in place. And I think it's just an example of everything having to come together, and so far it is, and we're really excited to wrap this all up and be skiing.
I have to say, it's fun to go by those staging areas in the parking lots down below during the summer and try to figure out how is this jigsaw puzzle going to come together. Steve, something that you said, hey, that really worked out well.
Looking back here, mid to late October and looking back at this summer, just the scale and speed of what we've been able to accomplish. I can't think of one thing, but all of it together, like this is incredible.
Okay, to each of you now, When this thing is up and operating, and you're hoping to get this rolling out by what, mid-December-ish? Mid to late December?
Mid to late December is our target.
Okay, so when you get out there in mid-December, what's that one run that you really want to get on? Garrett?
Redemption. I mentioned it earlier. That is the iconic Ridgeline run. Everyone is going to want to ski that. A few years ago, I was out on a marketing shoot and we did a sunrise ski of that run, and it is just amazing. That is going to be a magnet for our skiers.
Okay, Redemption. Steve?
I'm gonna say Persistence is another ridgeline run. It goes down to the bottom of Vulcan. It's got a great pitch. It's gonna be advanced intermediate, and we're planning on grooming it nightly. So that's gonna be a fun one as well.
You guys have a trail map ready, right? So
we'll have a trail map ready.
So we're gonna okay. I see that as I say, we're gonna put the trail map in the show notes, and hopefully it'll be ready so you can kind of find your way around. Shawn, what's your run gonna be?
Well, you have me at a loss because I don't know all the run names yet. These guys have us beat, but I'm excited to ride and ski everything off of Revelator. That looks just fantastic, and that's going to be kind of a repeat of all this Wasatch Salton terrain, and I think it's going to be pretty special.
Yeah, I think that Revelator is going to be fun. Just watching it go in and kind of imagining what the terrain is like there. Okay, last question. This is always the hardest one, but I want you to kind of sum up what Deer Valley East Village means to you, but you only have one word. Shawn, I'm going to go to you first. One word, Deer Valley East Village.
Okay, I thought about this. My word is enduring, and it's because the first time I looked at this expansion is well over 5 years ago. First laying out these lifts and doing pre-engineering, and then finally building them. But then really looking forward. I mean, one thing we don't talk a lot about, but this is real infrastructure that it will be here for decades. And so these difficult couple of summers, when we look back in 20 and 30 years, I think it'll be an enduring experience, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
That kind of popped another question in my mind, but do you ever think, I know you do because you work for Doppelmayr, but what are lifts going to look like in 20 or 30 years?
Ooh, teleportation.
Love that. Okay, sign me up for that. I'll be 90, but that's okay. Garrett, one word.
I would say lifetime as my one word, because this is a once in a lifetime experience to be a part of this project. There's so many people involved, and everyone is driving towards the same goal, and we're going to get there, and it's going to be at a Deer Valley level.
Beautiful. You get the last word, Steve, but it can only be one.
One word, evolution.
Love that one.
Yeah, and as I've thought about it, the East Village and our terrain expansion is just another evolution of Deer Valley. And we're taking those founding principles with us and evolving it into something twice as big and great. And it's going to be very exciting.
And you've lived through many of those, the Flagstaff evolution, the Empire evolution, now East Village, right?
Correct, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for taking time. I know that you're in the peak final days of construction to get this open the end of November. But thank you for joining us on Last Chair. And I know that all of our skiers and listeners and viewers of Last Chair, thank you for your information, and we'll see you on the slopes this winter.
Great. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Tom.
And thanks for joining us here on Season 7 of Last Chair as we kick it off here at Deer Valley Resort. Hearing from those guys now, I really can't wait for the season opener. Thanks to Steve Graff, Garrett Lang, and Shawn Marquardt for visiting with me on Last Chair at the top of Bald Mountain. And if you're marking your calendar, the weekend of November 29 and 30 will be the opening of Deer Valley Resort for season pass holders, with a general opening on Monday, December 1st. And watch for the new lifts to start spinning at East Village sometime mid to late December. It is going to be a blast this season. You can find the Last Chair podcast on any major podcast platform, and the new video version is available on YouTube and at skiutah.com. And if you like the podcast, share it with a friend and leave us a review. And make sure to subscribe to get every episode delivered directly to you. And watch for our upcoming episodes on Last Chair. In early November, we'll celebrate 50 years of Ski Utah. And then we'll come back in mid-November with ski resort designer Chris Cushing. Does your business want to connect at Ski Utah? We do networking slopeside, Join the powder chasing community of Ski Utah's business membership for an inside track to the state's ski industry. You can learn more at skiutah.com/membership. The Ski Utah Last Chair podcast is brought to you by High West Distillery, the spirit of the West. Follow our whiskey adventure on all social media platforms at Drink High West. And remember, sip responsibly. High West Whiskey, 46% alcohol by volume. High West Distillery in Park City, Utah. Remember, High West, the spirit of the West. To close this out on Last Chair, let's welcome back our friends Pitsy and the Party Grass Boys. I'm Tom Kelly for Last Chair, presented by High West. Thanks for joining us here at Deer Valley. Have fun. It is a great day to get ready for the ski season.
I reckon I'm gonna stay. Oh, I love